Salvage Racing was there. They've got a new car, a new Mustang. They came with a theme from the remake of Death Race. They even got their kids involved, which was hella sweet. We're not so sure about the car. Their past car was a Lumina Z34, but the theme made it worthwhile. They did a great job.
Hey there. We are getting ready for our 2025 season with 24 Hours of Lemons. Our first race is coming up at the beginning of May in Howlett, Oklahoma, and we are getting our car ready. I'm not sure if I've showed this car on YouTube, so I'm going to do a quick little walk around of the monster. All right, our car is a 2005 Ford Mustang GT. We are themed after the movie Death Race with Jason Statham in it.
Welcome to Death Race. Terminal Island Penitentiary hosts 3 days of the ultimate in auto carnage.
And so we have guns on the hood, we have the louvers on the back, we even have a tombstone, if you guys are familiar with the movie, right over there made out of plywood and styrofoam insulation that goes on the back of the car during the race. This car has 250,000 miles on it. What I was told when I bought it, original engine, original transmission, and it runs pretty well. When I bought it, I got it for like $1,500, and the guy said it had a leaking head gasket, and it turned out there was actually just a hose that runs underneath the intake manifold. $30, taking out a few bolts, putting some bolts back in, and it has been good to go ever since then. So this is our car. It does have some rust, has a few rust issues, and definitely in Lemons fashion. Came down here, put some sheet metal on there, just put some nice little rivets, cover up those speed holes. Got the fake bullets. I will tell you, we talked about actually shooting the car, but we were concerned that we might hit something vital and ruin the car. So we just put some gunshot stickers on there. So this is the car. Now, we did run the car in 2024 for one race at Autobahn over in Joliet, Illinois. And the car ran fine, but as far as the exhaust, it still had the catalytic converters. And on the Mustangs, the catalytic converters sit right underneath the floor pans for the driver and the passenger. So what that meant was that we could only stay in the car for about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, before our feet would start getting too hot and we'd have to get out, let it cool down, and for the next driver. So we raced barely half that race last year. I tried to do a longer stint. I think I was in there for like 45 minutes one time and burnt my foot really bad. Here's a picture of that. And so I didn't even get a run on Sunday because I could barely walk with my foot. But we have made some changes that should hopefully take care of that. So one addition was this plate that I found online, and it just bolts to the floorboard and it creates an air gap between the actual floorboard and where our feet rest. And that should make a huge difference for us. The other thing was underneath the car, you probably can't see down there, but we took the catalytic converters out of it. So it is just a regular pipe now, and it should not get nearly as hot in there, but that was super hot. That was a huge thing for us. I also did wrap the pipe in insulation and heat shielding, so hopefully that takes care of that issue. As far as modifications, other than of course, the things we have to do, like the roll cage and fire suppression system, we got our battery tie down. I did replace the front suspension, so just new stock. Control arms and tie rod ends. Did put new struts on it, new shocks in the back, because those are very old and very bouncy. No modifications to the engine other than fixing that hose that was leaking underneath the intake. Honestly, I haven't even changed the spark plugs because these are the 2-piece style that tend to break. And maybe after Howlett, I'll get brave because I do have the tool. I've had a few Mustangs to get those out, but I just kind of don't want to mess with it. So just to get ready, we need to bleed the brakes and get the old fluid out of there. take the coolant out that I had in there for the winter and just put distilled water back into it and do an oil change. And everything up here should be pretty much good to go. Some other things back here we got to do. I'm going to change the transmission fluid before the race anyway. And then I'm going to double check the brake pads. We had changed them out and they have a ton of meat left on them, but I'm just going to double check those and check the rotors to make sure they're okay. And actually, we did a couple other modifications that I forgot that we had done. One was deleted the AC compressor because the AC didn't work anyway, and I didn't want that locking up on track and ruining our day. So I went ahead and deleted that, and it just has a pulley that replaces the AC compressor. We did replace the radiator with an aluminum radiator that's a little bigger to give us some better cooling. And then there's also an oil cooler with a sandwich plate above the filter, and then the cooler's actually up here. At the end of the race at Autobahn, we had some oil underneath the car, but I couldn't tell if it was oil coming off of our car or coming off, some of the other hoopties that were out there. So the other day I did put some dye in there, and I was looking to see if I could tell where it was leaking from. And one of the fittings on the sandwich plate is leaking just a little bit. So I'm gonna see if I can snug that down too while I'm doing the oil change. But outside of that, it's looking good for a Lemons car. It's got a few leaks here. Everything's dirty. I've never actually cleaned off the engine bay because why would I? Yeah, we should be good. So I'm no mechanic, not even close to mechanic. I mean, hell, I sold cell phones for 25 years and I work at a bank now. But something that we do with the car is we add an extra quart of oil in there. So, when we're going around corners, there's a little more oil in the pan so it doesn't, oil starve. In theory, there's more oil up in the top of the engine. So we've done that with all of our Lemons cars. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I've heard several people doing that. So it's worked good for us. So right now I'll just throw the 6 quarts that are in here. And then when I get it down level, after I run it just a little bit, I'll check it and put an extra quart of oil in there. Right or wrong, I don't know. It's worked for us though. So something else you have to do to get prepped for Lemons is you have to run just straight distilled water in your cooling system. You can't have any antifreeze coolant. From my understanding, if something were to blow, when coolant hits the track, it makes it very slick. Water just evaporates, and so they will ask you and possibly inspect your car when you go through tech inspection. So got to drain all the coolant out of it, get it out of the block, and then I've got a couple gallons of distilled water that we'll put in there. I live in Iowa, and it's still the end of March, but you never know when it's going to freeze. Luckily, I'm in a heated garage, so this will be fine. Changing out to water right now. I did store the car outside all winter, so I had to make sure I put antifreeze in it, but just got to get the coolant out. Well, while I'm letting that run to get the air bubbles out of the cooling system, people sometimes ask what tires we run for 24 hours of Lemons. Right now, what I've got is we have the Hankook RS4s that will go on the front. Last year when I was ordering tires, they only had 2 in stock when I ordered them, so I just got those 2. And then the Vulcan RT 615s for the rear. And then we have a backup set of wheels that also has the RT615, the Falcon tires. Again, no tire expert, but for like endurance racing, the Hancooks, like they last a really long time. They aren't the fastest tire, but they are 200 tread wear, but they last a really long time. When I'm doing autocross, I'm doing like the Falcon RT660s usually, but those laminate in the middle, you know, and don't last nearly as long. So for me, this is my recommendation. We used them on the last 2 Lemons cars and would get a couple of races out of them. Maybe we're not driving hard enough to make them last that long. That's the Hankook RS4s is what I would do for endurance racing, in my opinion. Just my opinion, just one guy, but they work really well. So some other fun things in the car we've got. I actually left the HVAC system in there, so I actually have defrosters. So if it's raining or whatnot, I can put the defrosters on to clear the windshield off. We're not super competitive, so I wasn't really worried about the extra weight. And then in this car, this is where the vents would come out to the passenger compartment. Just put that little, HVAC vent from your house on there, so it will blow semi-cool air at us. It's outside air, but if we end up doing something like Atlanta, it might be nice having some heat in there. So we still have the controls. I still have the cigarette lighter, so I can plug in the phone. I think we're going to do some recording or possibly even live YouTube this year. I also have a backup camera because when you look out the back, you can't see anything. It's got louvers on the side windows, the louvers on the back. It's all part of the theme. So on the Tombstone, I mounted a backup camera and have it on all the time. The Tombstone's obviously not on right now, but that kind of acts as a second rearview mirror. And it was like $30 on Amazon, super cheap. Outside of that, just normal stuff. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to flush it again because it's still pretty green. So I don't really want to drain it when it's hot, and that's all the distilled water I have left. So that might be a tomorrow problem to do that. So just want to make sure I get all the coolant out that I can and get some just water in there. All right, so that's about all I got for tonight. It's about 11:30, and as you can hear, this thing's a little bit loud, and I don't want to irritate the neighbors. So I think I am done for tonight, and I'll get some more some water and some other stuff tomorrow. So all right, well, hopefully maybe I'll see you out there at Hallett.
Welcome your drivers and your plastic cars back on.